Behemoth was first announced back in 2022, and it looked incredible. People were calling it Shadow of the Colossus in VR, and that is pretty accurate. This morning the game launched, and a lot of mixed reviews came out before it was even ready to play. This game's on Quest, Steam VR, and PS VR2, but I'm playing it on PS VR2, so that is the specific version I am reviewing. I live streamed it for about 2.5 hours this morning, and then I decided to replay the first area for footage for this video. This video wasn't rushed to be the first one out. The game has been out for a day already, and I took my time with it. I have not beaten the game, however, and the reason I am releasing this video prior to completing the game is because I want to combat some of the unwarranted negative media this title has gotten. I've seen a lot of reviews with titles that call it a buggy mess, saying to wait for it to get fixed, and that has not been my experience in this game at all. Maybe other formats are having issues, but PSVR 2 plays fine from what I have seen. Before jumping in, I was pleased to see that you can set your settings, such as smooth turn and locomotion, before you even start the game. I really want to see more games do this. I didn't have to go through a tutorial about how to walk and turn in VR for the umpteenth time. I was able to jump in and play. There is a bug where you cannot set the game to standing in the options menu. However, if you leave it on seated and then just recenter the game using the sandwich button, it'll play like any other standing game plays. The first thing I noticed when jumping in is that the graphics look great. The textures are very good, even up close. Things look clear over long distances. When I got my first torch, I saw there was very realistic lighting. The glow of the fire reflecting on the walls was convincing enough, and it was very obvious right from the beginning that this is the premium quality game we had been waiting for. My opinion of the mechanics in the game are a bit mixed though. Breaking through a barricaded door with an axe feels cheesy and hollow in my opinion, but using my curse power to punch through a wall feels great. Climbing walls feels good, and the jumping mechanic when climbing works very well. The grappling hook mechanics are fun, but don't feel very convincing if I'm being honest. But that's okay. It certainly doesn't break the game, and it very quickly becomes second nature, which you are going to need it to be. The fighting mechanics are also a mixed bag in my opinion. There is a stamina mechanic in the game, so parrying and blocking as well as swinging your sword quickly drains your stamina, and before long your two-handed sword starts wobbling like a foam pool noodle, which doesn't make a lot of sense if I'm supposed to be a lifelong warrior. You do gain stamina as you go, so I imagine this issue decreases over time, but just as you start to get into a sword fight, at least in the beginning of the game, you run out of stamina and it just breaks the immersion for me. I might be spoiled because I played a lot of Legendary Tales, which has superior combat mechanics in my opinion, but this is my review and all I can do is give my honest opinion. Throwing daggers and archery work very well. In fact, the throwing of daggers works much better than I expected it to, and it is a reliable attack method in this game despite throwing mechanics usually being a very hit or miss in VR. The pacing of the game seems very good. There are areas where you'll be forced to fight waves of enemies that spawn magically out of sealed off rooms, but so far the waves have been few in number and the action feels good and fairly steady. There is a narrative, but it is also paced very well. You don't really seem to be pulled out of the action for more than a couple of minutes for some NPC to ramble off some dialogue, which was probably the most annoying part of Metro Awakening for me. Rather, any dialogue scene is short and sweet and gives you some needed info so that you can be on your way to the next enemy or puzzle. There are puzzles, but they are all very straightforward. I have been slowed down by a puzzle here and there, but I have not yet hit a puzzle that frustrated me or that was unenjoyable. And I have very little patience for elaborate puzzles in action games. Most of the puzzles seem like Legend of Zelda style puzzles where you push a block onto a pressure plate, and all of these mechanics seem very intuitive and work well so far. Please note that I keep saying so far because I'm only halfway through the second section as far as I can tell. It was said in game that there are 3 behemoths, but the game seems to have a trophy case for much more than that. I have only fought 1 behemoth and I have gotten to the first mini-boss of the second area. And I only seem to have 1 enemy trophy despite there being a whole lot of trophy slot. Speaking of behemoths, I've only fought 1, but the battle is really cool. I don't want to spoil anything, but as you probably already know, fighting a behemoth does involve climbing it, dodging its feet and attacks, striking it in sensitive areas, and the multi-phase battle with the first behemoth felt very good. I'm excited to see what the other encounters will be like. I really expected Behemoth to be Game of the Year, and I've been waiting for it 4 years. And honestly, I think I can already say with a level of certainty that this was not my favorite game of 2024. but it is definitely in the top 10, and I highly recommend that you take the time to experience what Behemoth has to offer. This is all based on my first impressions, and maybe my opinions will change as I progress in the game, but I feel like I can say with some confidence that this is a very polished premium title that will be a VR experience that you remember for years to come. I would very much like to hear what you guys think of it so far, so please tell me in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and game on.